All right, we've got Mounce BBG chapter 14, last sentence for the chapter. Oh, we survived. All right, this case we're going to start off with and. So, and hopefully you know with hey mace that you're dealing with a we. So, and with the ace ending, you should know that that's a nominative. And again, nominative plural, of course, in this case. So simple as we, as a subject, we witnesses, no verb, so it's an ellipsis of the verb. And if you remember that term ellipsis, often happens where you have an equative verb that's just absent. If you look at Romans 6:23 in the Greek, for the wages of sin, death. For the gift of God, eternal life. You've got two clauses, and both equative verbs are missing because Greek does that very, very commonly, and that's what we have here. So it's, and we are witnesses. You're going to insert that ellipsed verb. We are witnesses, and then pantone, or pontone. So you have of all. From pos would be the lexical form here, right? So, but with a genitive plural ending, and hopefully you recognize omega nu. When you have omega nu, genitive plural, all the way across. If you take out your Mounce laminated sheets and take a look at the top right of the case endings, the genitive plural, it's omega nu all the way across, no matter what, declension or gender or anything. It's always omega nu. So, we are witnesses of all, and then you have your first relative pronoun here, and what you're going to say is that this is your relative clause, and main sentence is right here that's not highlighted, and we are witnesses of all. In other words, we're witnesses of everything, period. So makes sense as an independent sentence, but then you have this relative pronoun introducing the relative clause. We'll go ahead and take it apart. He did, and then in, and then you have this particle te, which hopefully you'll recognize. If you haven't, you may have to look it up, but essentially if you got a te and then a kai, it's basically in both blah 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 and the other thing. So it's both and. When you see a te and a kai together in the same clause, it's both and. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so which he did in both the region, and he gives you Korah as region. N is typically going to take its object in what I would call the locative, but Mounce is going to call it the dative. I don't care, that's fine. But you see that because of the iota subscript. So object of the preposition takes the dative case because it's the object of the preposition N. All right. So that would be your answer on a test. So in both the region of the Judeans, you notice again the plural genitive, and then the Judea or Judean, in this case of the Judeans, right? And he gives you that, of course, but and there's your and then in, and then of course that's Jerusalem. Hopefully you can recognize that easily enough. So we're witnesses of all which he did, both in the region of the Judeans and in Jerusalem. Now we got to go back to hone, which again is a genitive plural, and don't know what gender, so number and gender, the main thing we need to worry about here is number. In terms of an antecedent, near antecedent is pantone, so it's everything. Everything is the antecedent, or of all things, however you want to translate pantone. And then noticing that it's a genitive plural, it is, normally we would want to think possessive, but he did all things. It's really a direct object. But does poieo take a genitive as a direct object? I don't know. Off the top of my head, couldn't tell you. But that's how it's functioning. So, I have to look that one up. But for the time being, bottom line is it's going to replace the direct object within that relative clause because he did all things in the region of the Judeans and in Jerusalem. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody, and I'll get back to you on that one.